In the heart of Philadelphia lies a stone fortress with walls that loom cold and unforgiving, Eastern State Penitentiary. Built in 1829, it was intended as a revolutionary prison where criminals could repent in isolation. Cells were small, with a single skylight known as the Eye of God looking down on inmates, reminding them they were always being watched. But what began as a well-meaning experiment in rehabilitation soon devolved into something much darker. The prison's strict regime demanded absolute silence from its prisoners. They were kept alone in their cells for 23 hours a day, wearing hoods over their heads whenever they were outside. Over time, the forced solitude broke minds and spirits. Inmates began to unravel, plagued by hallucinations and a creeping sense of dread. Many never made it out. Some took their own lives, while others simply went mad within those walls. After over a century of operation, the prison finally closed in 1971. But even though it was abandoned, visitors and guards alike would soon realize that not everything had left the crumbling walls of Eastern State Penitentiary. By the 1980s, Eastern State had become infamous as a haunted landmark. Those brave enough to explore its halls reported terrifying encounters, whispered voices, chilling screams, and the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoing down empty corridors. But the cell block that unnerved visitors most was cell block 12, said to be the heart of the penitentiary's paranormal activity. One evening, a man named Tom, a security guard for the old building, found himself working the night shift. He was tasked with patrolling the abandoned corridors, though he'd heard the whispers about the prison's eerie history. Tom tried to brush it off, but as he walked through the empty halls, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. He paused outside cell block 12, feeling an unnatural chill seep into his skin. A heavy silence fell over him, and he suddenly became aware of a soft, shuffling sound as if someone, or something, was moving inside one of the cells. Tom's flashlight flickered, casting long, twisted shadows along the walls. He tried to tell himself it was just the building settling, but as he stepped forward, a voice whispered his name. It was faint but unmistakable, coming from deep within the darkness of cell block 12. Trembling, Tom aimed his flashlight down the corridor, and his heart stopped. At the far end of the block stood a figure, its face hidden by the shadows, yet its eyes gleamed with a ghostly light. Frozen in fear, Tom could only stare as the figure began to move toward him. But instead of walking, it seemed to glide, silent as a shadow. The air around him grew thick and cold, and an intense pressure settled on his chest, making it hard to breathe. Just as the figure was close enough for him to make out the hollow, empty eye sockets of its face, the flashlight died, plunging him into complete darkness. The sensation of a hand gripping his shoulder sent him staggering backward. When he stumbled out of the block and finally regained his breath, he saw that he was alone. Yet the icy grip remained, as if the handprint had seared into his skin. Tom quit his job that night, refusing to ever set foot inside Eastern State again. But visitors who walk past cell block 12 still report a cold chill and the feeling of a presence watching from the shadows. Some say they hear whispers, even their names called out, by something that was once human but now lingers in eternal torment. Cell block 12 is not just haunted, it is a place of unrest, reminder of the minds that shattered and the souls that remain trapped within the prison's stone walls, forever bound by despair. Eastern State Penitentiary is now a museum, open to tourists curious enough to step inside. But those who enter are always advised, never look too closely into the shadows, and if you hear your name whispered, walk quickly and don't look back.